Are y'all ready to find out if this dude's wife is really this white?
Is she really this white? Is it possible? I mean, I I got so many feelings when I see her on this cover. Um,
Hold on,
Most of them are
let me
like
share
primal
the
though.
let me share the cover into the group.
Yeah, like I think isn't has to be like a stock image
No,
from?
this is his wife, dude. This is a photo.
Is this his actual wife?
They did a photo shoot for his hot wife.
Ooh,
Dude's got a hot wife, man. Of course you get a photo shoot for your hot wife,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. But it's because the way I look at this with this cover, it's like my crazy white wife is a racist, really? And then you'd open it and it'd be like, well, then why is she fucking these four black men? And like that, it's like, how racist can she be? Like that's if she was so racist, would she be into BBC? I don't think so.
What an amazing photo. Look at how crazy this white wife is.
Yeah, she does look crazy. I I also love the punctuation of the title.
Well, the title is like MDC Pitch Perfect. Like,
Yeah.
my crazy white wife is a racist? Really? Just like
Yep.
mad about how hot and not racist your wife is. There's more pics. You guys want to see more pics before we get started here?
I need to see more pics.
What is? I'm sorry. Like, what is she? She's like straddling a side table. That's not even a chair. It doesn't have a back on it. It's just a coffee table that she's like put pussy printing on. Uh,
Is that she actually on that table, or is she photoshopped onto that table? That's then photoshopped onto the flag because it doesn't look right.
I think she's actually on the table.
What size is that table? It's a weird size table. This is like an optical illusion. Is she a giant woman? Ooh, is she a giant woman?
My crazy white wife won't step on black people? Really?
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. What size are those shoes? What size do you think those pumps are?
Yeah, and then the American flag looks like a snail trail behind her. It's like
Yep.
it looks like she's scooted on the floor towards the viewer and then finally got up on the table. And the trail behind her
That's
was the
beautiful.
American flag.
That's why I call her Lady Liberty. You know.
Yeah, she had brainworms, but then she scooted them out. She rubbed them on the carpet, and it came out looking like an American flag.
She scooted him out. Ew. Yeah, the stars is when you know you're good. When you get to the stars, because that's a lot of stripes. The stripes kind of go for a while, but once you hit stars, that means you're finally starting to clear up.
Yeah, wow. They say that the tapeworms, they can get up to 50 states, 50 contiguous states.
I've heard.
Here's the author. This is the author, Anthony
Uh-huh.
L. Thornton, PhD.
Thornton. Okay, all right. My man's got a hat on. I like that
Thornton.
hat.
He could look cool, but because I know what he's writing, this comes off as such dork shit.
No, I mean, yeah, he could look cool, except for he actually can't. You're just being really generous. Like he's a total nerd. Like this, he just got a hat.
And then
There's no reason to wear this hat and a turtleneck at the same time. That makes no sense.
Pretty wild. It's like a straw brimmed hat, and then he's wearing a turtleneck and a blazer over the turtleneck. And
That's a Tommy Bahama ass hat.
That's a Tommy Bahama hat. And then the little blurb on the back reads Ant. So he goes by Ant because he's Anthony, yeah. I guess. Ant.
Oh, me too. I don't know if I told you that, but that's what I go by now.
Have you ever?
So if we could just do that from
Anthony.
Hell no.
By Ant.
Hell no. I've never gone by Ant. No way. And anyone who calls me Anthony is like, I like those people because that means we're strictly business. You don't actually know me. But yeah, an Ant? No way. Tony's already a stretch.
It doesn't even roll off the tongue. Like you got to hit the T too hard for it to roll off the tongue. Ant.
Oh my god. This is Sorry,
Okay.
it's all too good.
Let me read. Ant married a University of Texas graduate, Glenna Mott Horn, aka Grasshopper, in Santa Fe, New Mexico in 2008. Ant and Grasshopper support 4 furry, quote, demo cats who, quote, occupy rent-free a residence in the East Mountains of Albuquerque. What if they did like a land? What if you
Oh
did
my
a
God.
sarcastic land acknowledgement too?
Yeah, to the Democrats.
This book highlights the conversion of a Democrat (parentheses Ant) and the awakening of a Republican (parentheses Grasshopper) to the reality of conservative politics. Ant is now a diehard conservative. He is not a racist.
This is just a testimony of like the power of like white women, right? Is that
Yeah.
what he's saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Grasshopper. You think people sincerely call her Grasshopper?
He calls her only Grasshopper. He like I don't think he ever refers to her by her given name, like maybe once in this book. And
Does he ever do like an awful? Well, you don't hear him, but I imagine every once in a while he does like a pretty bad like Orientalist accent when he says it. You know?
yeah. Oh, Grasshopper, can you snatch the taxes out of my paycheck?
before I close my accounts.
Okay, so this book is wild. This book is like mostly diary entries. So it's mostly diary entries between him, like from him, and then from her. And then it just turns into diary entries by her while they're attending the rally to restore honor by Glenn Beck in 2010, I think it is. This is a Tea Party
yeah.
book.
Oh, geez.
It's a Tea Party era book, and so much of it is just filled with Glenn Beck, just references to Glenn Beck. They copy and paste entire Red State articles in this book. Like I was speed reading through.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
They copy and paste like entire sermons, entire speeches, really padding out that 210 page count.
So you already knew most of what you would start the sermon, and you're like, I know that one. I can skip it.
It was old
and yeah,
news,
so
yeah.
that helps. That helps with that. That and the articles, the copy. I know those. I've seen those. Move on.
Yeah. Let me see if I can orient this a little better. There we go. Okay. Okay, this is the first page. I don't have many visual aids. Most of this is just going to be reading. But I did take a photo of the very first page after... Well, I guess I'll get to it when I get there, because we have to first look at the dedication. Okay, the dedication reads... I'm going to read the last paragraph of the dedication. We live in a time where the state, parentheses, our government, wants to treat us like sheep. They punish the successful and reward the lazy to keep us under the shepherd's watch. Don't let them.
Yep.
Individual responsibility is the expected norm in our society. Individuals who exhibit bad behavior with reckless decisions should suffer the consequences. Free market capitalism enables America to compete globally. If you are looking for a handout, ... sorry. In our America, inspiration, innovation, and initiative shall be rewarded. It's time for us to get back to the basic fundamental reason of why America excels. America works because Americans work. We work hard, and we enjoy it because we know we will be rewarded. This is what is meant by the American dream. Liberal interpretation of the above dedication. The author must be a racist. So just
yeah.
getting right in there. That's
hold on.
book is dedicated. This book is dedicated to liberals thinking that he's a racist for being conservative.
Speaking of like padding out pages, that's like a whole page with one sentence on it. It's it's like you could have the layout. You allowed that in the layout. You could have had a picture of your hot wife down there. What a waste.
Man, I wish this was like Gents We Need to Talk About Feminist, which had like photos he took of that woman who got a restraining order against him. Like photos of her bar on like every page. Man, what a good book. That's still one of my favorites. I don't know. This title though, this fucking title, I think the best title of like any book I've ever seen frankly,
Yeah.
let alone read. Okay. This is the foreword. Now we had the dedication. Now we have the foreword. This is a story about a white woman who meets a black man, falls in love, and marries him. They live happily ever after. Life is pretty simple when you put it in simple terms. No need for complex analysis. Like most Americans, I believe common sense can take you a long way if you just apply it to your daily life. We have all heard of the KISS principle. Have you heard of this?
Oh,
KISS
okay.
principle?
Like, is it keep it simple, stupid?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
I don't
principle
understand how that applies here, but
Well, it's a
Run
principle when it comes to songwriting, I know, and maybe other things, but that's all I'm familiar with. Keep it simple, stupid. The problem with today's world is that KISS no longer applies, especially in regards to religion, politics, economics, and race relations. Just keep it simple.
yeah, I think see, he's projecting too much because he's right. When it comes to dating white women, that's not the way to approach it. You got to be, you're playing 3D chess when you're dating white women. So he's right in that sense, but he's projecting that on everything else, and that's not fair.
Okay. Can we fundamentally transform America back to a free society? We say yes, and we can point with comedic ridicule to those not willing to return to the basic foundations which created this great country. This book was written for conservative entertainment in a time of serious deliberation on the future direction of this country. As you read this book, you will often come across the term poppycock. I decided to use this term instead of the more literal translation, quote, bovine snot, or BS for short.
Bovine snot?
Now, I did, like I said earlier,
What?
well, the normal one is bovine scatology. That's the normal one people go to.
Yeah.
For BS. This guy, he's full of like his own idioms and his own little bon mots, however you pronounce that. He says he's going to use poppycock. Again, I read this whole book in like an hour, 2 hours today.
Mhm.
I didn't see one other instance of poppycock. So maybe I was reading too quickly, but
honestly, if that's true, maybe we should look and see if there's like a class action lawsuit about this book for people who are expecting an abundance of poppycock and were misled and thus wasted. Not everyone's a voracious reader like yourself. This book probably took some men like 3 months. This was their book for the summer. This was their summer book. So that there might be a lawsuit out there that we can cash in on.
okay, I have one more visual aid, and this is for the first page of chapter 1. I want everybody to see this. I think it's pretty good.
Is she like smoking like a clove?
Well, I'll show you what she's smoking. It's actually addressed very neatly in the first page of this.
Wow, good. Because if it's a blunt, we're gonna have to put age restrictions on this video now. That is not in the picture. That whole thing is not in the other picture.
Well, this is
the same photo session.
No, it's the same photo session. Yeah, but it's a different.
Oh, but she
photo.
smoked the cigarette. The cigarette smoked at this point.
No,
because that tip is
slow
not.
Slow down, Tony.
Sorry. Okay? I'm just very.
Okay, chapter 1. Meet Grasshopper. Here she is. ... By the way, she doesn't smoke. That fake cigarette was photoshopped in after the picture was taken.
Why? Why did you do that? That whole thing is fake. The filter and the cigarette.
I think the holder is real, but they did a cigarette. Maybe they didn't have a cigarette handy. I don't know.
Like why? Like we just thought it'd make her look sluttier, so we went for the cigarette. We thought we'd Photoshop that in later on. Run it. Like, what?
Man, I
that's
love
so weird.
My crazy ass. Why? Just look at how crazy she is with this hat and a cigarette. By the way, the cigarette was photoshopped in later.
We're stupid because obviously her teeth are too white. Her teeth are too perfect for her to be a smoker.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right,
that is insane.
That fake cigarette that you were flipping your wig about, Tony. It was fake actually, and this was a clever demonstration of how Of rule number 1, don't believe everything you see because sometimes your eyes will lie to you. So I love we have
I can't believe there was a lesson in
a
that.
50-year-old Facebook Tea Party guy saying, "Hey, did you know there's this thing called Photoshop that can be used to
this is
manipulate
writing.
people's responses?"
This is amazing. This is like an interactive book that we didn't know we were going to actually interact with. Like we were hooked. Look, what a fool! What if I am now? They are now addressing me,
Yeah.
Tony Boswell, the fool that thought that she was a hottie smoking a cigarette. She doesn't smoke cigarettes, you fool.
No.
You
She's
were
not-
lied to,
listen,
and you fell for it.
She's crazy.
Wow.
But she's not that crazy.
Wow. This is amazing.
Okay. Don't believe everything you see because sometimes your eyes will lie to you. I think it's
True.
It's maybe petty of me to bring this up, but you know how conservatives are always quoting 1984, talking about how we live in George Orwell's year of 1984. You should look it up. Isn't that like one of the lines in 1984 that they were told not to believe their lying eyes, not to trust what their eyes told them because the government would tell them what the truth was? And this guy's like, no, I intentionally tricked you I gaslit you so that you wouldn't trust your own eyes anymore.
Wow, this is like exposure therapy. Thank you. Thanks, ant dog.
Rule number 2, don't believe everything you hear because sometimes your ears will lie to you. Rule number 3, that doesn't count for podcasts, by the way. Everything that you hear on a podcast is accurate. Rule number 3, don't believe everything you smell because ... Never mind, your nose doesn't lie. Rule number 3, believe your nose. If it doesn't smell right, it ain't right.
I like
Trust your nose. I love that too because he's like, don't
That's-
believe your eyes. Don't believe your ears. Just believe that gut instinct you have that hates everybody who is not yourself.
Yeah. No, I do like that is a rule because it is true. You know, like it saves us from so many things. When you feel like maybe that food is not cold enough or isn't fresh, you give it a whiff. You know, you make sure that it's safe to eat. You can trust that. Everything else, because that expiration date might say a future date. But that nose might tell you something else. Like that poor guy. Did you see that poor guy who was worried about breaking edge for drinking the sour oat milk?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he drank like oat milk that turned. And he was like, am I like not edge anymore? But he was being sincere. If he would have just smelled it, he probably would have realized, don't do it because you're probably going to break edge. And now you have to determine your death style.
And
Trust your nose. I like that.
You even like get drunk off that?
You'd have to drink so much, and you would for sure puke before you get any sort of head change.
Sucks. Man, that sucks. Okay.
Because like bad oat milk smells fucking like it. Milk smells bad at turn, but bad oat milk has an also really terrible stench that like you can't fucking miss. You know what? This fool probably had COVID. I'm sorry. This fool probably had COVID. Couldn't smell it at all. But yeah.
Okay.
Trust your nose. Unless you had COVID, then don't.
The meeting. All right. So this is where they meet. It was March 17th, 2004, when Lex, a colleague of mine at the aerospace firm where we worked, contacted me and suggested we meet for a drink after work. Lex is a professional, well-dressed, perfectly manicured, 6-foot-tall black male who on occasion likes to flaunt his disposable income by going to an upper-end bar, sip on a couple glasses of wine after work, and maybe enjoy a nice dinner. Lex is
same, bro.
Yeah.
Just like me, for real.
Lex is what one would call a metrosexual. However, despite these idiosyncrasies, Lex was not effeminate nor gay. He was just a well-tailored brother from the South who earned his way to success and enjoyed the finer things in life.
Oh, never mind. Because just not like me at all, for real. So scratch that.
Then he goes on to like describe his career a little bit and how he was forced to there was a takeover at one of the aerospace firms, and so he had to like coordinate, you know, all the different businesses coming together. He compares it to like assimilation and the Borg and Star Trek, and this is where he meets Lex. During the assimilation process, Lex and I, being the only two blacks on the consolidation team, naturally migrated towards each other and became good friends. We were in our mid, yeah.
I've like blacks is like I've never said it that way. I still like follow it with like people or something. I've never been like, oh, hello, my fellow blacks.
Yeah.
Like
Hello,
that's
fellow black.
so
I have noticed that you and I are the only blacks
yeah.
here. Would you like to
And I mean, like,
commiserate over a drink at our local establishment?
only because like that's the thing that's real, and I would be so bummed if I was in the room and there was another black person and they went up to me like, hello, fellow black. Unless they were being funny, but they were being sincere, I'd be like, oh fuck, I'm alone now.
Yeah, it doesn't even
Like that,
sound. I don't know.
it's
Yeah.
such a weird way to say that.
Okay, during the assimilation process, Lex and I, being the only two blacks on the consolidation team, naturally migrated towards each other and became good friends. We were in our mid-40s, single, self-sufficient, and worked in a very tough, cyclic industry notorious for laying people off during the lean times. If you could survive the downturns in the aerospace industry, you were good. I wouldn't worry about that anymore. I wouldn't worry about money not getting shoveled into whatever aerospace
Yeah.
company you happen to work at. Lex
Oh,
was
I want to make a quick observation, if I may,
okay.
before
We
we
got a lot
move
of
on.
stuff to
When
get
we're
to, but sure, yeah.
well, just real quick, he noted that Lex was 6 foot, which leads me to believe that Ant is not 6 foot. So that's kind of important to hear in the voice.
I think he's 6'3". I think he's actually
No,
taller.
no,
He says, yeah. She says he's 6'3"
no.
later. There's a lot
Okay,
of crazy
sorry.
stuff we got to
Wow,
get to.
wow.
That's very juicy.
Interesting.
Okay, Lex was a mathematician who liked formulas and process. He worked in the business development side of the house, and his attention to detail served him well. I, on the other hand, was on the engineering side of the house. I received my undergraduate degree from the University of Colorado in aerospace engineering sciences in the winter of 1978. I went on to obtain my master's degree, yada, yada, yada. He worked for a national security high technology firm in New Mexico. So cool. Loving that.
Very cool. Yeah. Very tight.
He gets his doctorate from Purdue. His area of specialty was computational fluid dynamics. Speaking of fluid dynamics, unlike my wine-sipping friend Lex, my preferred drink was Jack and Coke. Okay, so now he talks about going out, to some bar that Lex knew about that says was cool. It's got a good vibe.
Yeah.
As we entered into the place, both he and I immediately noticed two women to our right talking. The woman facing us as we entered was a stunning raven-haired siren with legs to die for. I looked at Lex and said, I like this place already.
You feel me?
They sit down at the
Raven-haired?
bar. They sit down at the bar, and he talks about how like they don't want, they're never desperate for pussy. They just like want guy time, and if whatever happens. So Lex and I sat there for a while, catching up on company news, completely ignoring the talking women next to us. We both commented,
Naturally.
completely ignoring the women talking next to us. The very next sentences, we both commented on the attractiveness of the raven-haired woman who seemed oblivious to our presence. As I was about to order another drink, the woman in the group, whose back had been to us the entire time, turned around to face me and placed her hand on my knee and said, I just wanted to tell you that you are the cutest young thing. My first thought
Now,
was...
you've clearly read this because you just took a liberty that I think is important. Is this person a Southern Belle? Is this raven-haired woman a Southern Belle?
I mean, look at the cover. Look at the cover of this book here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's the hat. You're right. You. I think you're right to do that. I just wanted to acknowledge it because it was It took me a place.
My first thought was, okay, today is St. Patty's Day. How much has this woman had to drink already? Instead, I answered,
Yeah.
thanks, but I'm older than I look. She smiled, probably the best smile I had ever seen in my lifetime, and laughed and said, oh, honey, I'm not trying to pick you up. I'm married, and I am old enough to be your mother. I laughed and said, I don't think so. How old are you? She said in her slow Texas drawl, honey, I'm 48 years old. I smiled and said, I'm 47. Her face,
Shut up.
her face
No one
showed
looks that good.
disbelief. I mean, this is what, at least 8 years later. So she's like 56 in this photo. She looks pretty fucking good.
Oh no. She looks great, but you mean to tell me that she looked at him, who was 47, who would mean at best looked 35? You know, like she looked at him at 48 and said, "I could be your mother." That's that doesn't that's that's a reach. You
I
know,
mean,
that's a reach.
I think she
It's just
was.
weird. I
I
think this
think she was
dialogue is
hitting
completely
on him.
fabricated.
I know. I think she was hitting
Yeah.
on him. I think she was like trying to slut it up at this bar, and it worked. Uh, I smiled and said, "I'm 47." Her face showed disbelief. "There is no way you are 47 years old." I laughed again and asked her if she was from Texas. "Hell yes," she exclaimed with pride. "And where are you from?" I said I was born in California. She smiled and flatly stated, "Oh, you are from the Socialist Republic of California." I stopped
And this is
said,
what year?
"04.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I stopped and said, "What?" Like, you're 47 years old and you've never heard of you've been living in California
Yeah.
your whole life and you've never heard that called something socialistic. What?
What?
She continued, "You know, that's a really great state. It's too bad the liberals who live there have ruined it." I've known this woman for all of 2 seconds, and we are talking about politics. I thought to myself, this is going to be fun. I had found a political foe, and what the heck? She was a friend to the raven-haired beauty who still hadn't noticed us. Game on.
Oh. Okay, so because I was confused, I thought she was with the raven-haired beauty. I thought he was saying she was the raven-haired beauty because I'm like, she's not raven-haired.
No, she
But
was the
okay,
one
this makes
who had
sense.
her back to them. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
And so he
okay.
was. So now he's just taking whatever comes to him, is what he's saying. But go ahead.
Okay, so you've heard that side of the story. Now hear the other side of the story. This is how this book is written. Now we get Grasshopper's perspective, and it's written in I guess it's flipped for the audience, but it's written in Comic Sans. So her voice, Grasshopper's voice, is typed in Comic Sans in this book.
I'm upset because that's what I was gonna do in my book. Anytime anyone like femme is speaking, I was gonna use Comic Sans, so as to so speak with their voice, And so I'm really upset that he already took that gimmick.
Okay, so Grasshopper says, "I went to Michael's with my friend, the raven-haired beauty, RHB from now on, to sit with her until a friend of hers from Waco, Texas arrived to join us. I rarely went out for a drink after work with friends. I was married and was still homeschooling my special needs adopted child. However, on this particular occasion, RHB really wanted some company and begged me to tag along until her friend arrived. While we were waiting, these two professional white-collar type, nice-looking young men came into the establishment. I didn't give them much notice initially. After some time chit-chatting, the girl from Waco arrived along with her boyfriend. Problem was, I immediately recognized her boyfriend and knew he was married. Yikes. In my feeble attempt to not be seen by the married boyfriend, I turned to one of the young men who was sitting right beside me, and I just had to tell him that he was the nicest-looking young man. He said something to the effect that he wasn't as young as I thought. Well, I let him know that first of all, I wasn't trying to pick him up, and second of all, I was old enough to be his mother. Yes, maybe a young mother, but a mother nonetheless. And then I gave him that motherly pat on his knee. You know when a woman grabs your knee in a motherly way? Some people claim I was being a cougar, hitting on what I perceived to be a younger man. It was 2004, and I'm not sure the term cougar even existed at that time. I think it did.
It did. Yeah.
Like when did Cougar Town come out?
Yeah, as like a 17-year-old, I promise you it did. Like, I promise.
Besides, do you know anyone who uses the quote "I'm old enough to be your mother" line to pick someone up? Yeah, you did it.
Yeah. Also, like no shots, dude, but you're also like an attractive black man. Like this is the thing that happens. Like This is part of it. That's part of that whole like thing.
So she says the conversation turned to politics. I was a Bush girl and proud of it. I must tell you that these two gentlemen were black. Parentheses, is that the proper term nowadays? I can't keep up. So in my
Actually,
Texas,
no, it's blacks. According to your husband, it's actually blacks. So go ahead and you can amend that now.
So in my Texas style, I asked, why do blacks always vote in unison? Y'all are like sheep. No other race does that. I continued, you could spot me from across the room and you would have no idea how I vote. Yeah, a 50-year-old white woman from Texas. I wonder how she votes.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't met her husband yet, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, true. Yeah, you got to ask what the household vote is.
I like how both of these people were married and they're just bragging about it. This is wild. This is risque.
Yeah, well, he wasn't married, but her friend was dating a married guy. She's married.
But she was married, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you could spot me from across the room and you would have no idea how I vote. She's like got a fucking Texas belt buckle on. But I could be 95% sure that I would be right about the both of you. I love you. Oh, you blacks, you're like sheep, aren't you?
Yeah.
Y'all
it is. Oh, no. And they don't even know who Obama is yet. They have no idea who Obama is. They won't know about Obama for like 15 more months.
So again, the premise of this book, the title of this book, my crazy white wife is a racist? Really? And so that's
Really?
I think that's the question we're attempting to answer while reading this book. And the first introduction of her, in her own words, is saying, "Y'all blacks are like sheep, right?"
Yeah, you do know that, right? You're aware of that.
Y'all's is like a subhuman hive mind, correct?
It's true that you don't have what we have the proper faculties to process the social normities that we the rest of us tend to abide by. Am I wrong to assume that? Not that you would know how I vote just by looking at me.
I want to clarify.
But am I wrong?
So Ayana asked, did his wife help him write this? This is his wife writing this. This goes back and forth between them. Even though he has the credit of writing the book, she wrote like at least half of this book with her diary, with her journal entries. So this is her first person.
He just took those. He just went into her journals and started reading them. He actually wrote this book in response to violating her privacy and reading her journals. All to say, like, that's not how I remember this happening. Let me write a book about it. Let me put it on the record and not keep it a secret like you coward, grasshopper.